Welcome to Cityline. I'm Karen Holmes Ward. Today we're going to take a look at the homes that housed history in our state. History lessons and history textbooks about this country often left readers with the impression that human bondage was only practiced in the South, but slavery had deep roots in the North too. Did you know that the largest slaveholder in Massachusetts once lived on an enormous estate in a neighborhood near the Mystic River in a building that is still well preserved and is open to the public today? Chronicle's Shayna Seymour takes us there.
The Royal House and Slave Quarters offer a historic look back in time that you may not expect to find in Medford.
It was owned by Isaac Royal Sr., and then his son Isaac Royal Jr. inherited it. And they, at one point, were the largest slave holders in Massachusetts.
Penny Outlaw is co-president of the Royal House Association. She says this is the only preserved structure of its kind in New England.
It is unique. As far as we know, it's the only extant, still standing slave quarters.
Nearly 3 centuries ago, these quarters in the mansion just 35 feet away stood on a 550-acre estate, 11 times the size of the Boston Common.
On the side of the mansion that is facing the slave quarters, the only windows are windows that light the slave's stairway, and they have to be there to provide some light. When you look at the rest of the mansion, there are loads of windows. So that was obviously a very deliberate choice that was made. When you look at the side of the slave quarters that faces the mansion, lots of windows. So it really makes a statement about who is seen and who is not, and who controls that.
Inside, the slave quarters are markedly modest. There's an out kitchen designed to keep the summer heat and the year-round smell of food away from the mansion. Next to that, a meeting room that used to be divided into 3 smaller rooms.
There was no historical value of this structure until relatively recently, because there was no value for the slaves' lives, even after they were long gone. So you'll see that this has been improved. It has heat, it has bathrooms. It certainly wasn't like this to begin with. It was a very bare bones series of 3 rooms where we know people slept, but we also know a lot of goods and other things were kept here.
Next door tells a much different story.
You'll see a lot of things that indicate wealth, and he's trying to make it as grand as you can for a mansion at the time.
Isaac Royal Sr. grew up in Dorchester and acquired his wealth after becoming a merchant mariner and establishing a sugarcane plantation in Antigua. He eventually returned to the colonies and this manse.
This is a new part of the house, so he added this onto the original brick cottage, and he was able to raise the ceiling by about a foot. He wants it to be as grand as possible. He is really wealthy, so he doesn't care that the heat rises, and much of the heat would be up here, because he is enslaving people who are keeping the fireplaces going 24 hours a day, probably 7-8 months of the year.
Upstairs, the bedroom for the slave owners, dubbed the Marble Chamber, stands in sharp contrast to the sleeping arrangements for the slaves in the kitchen chamber.
We have examples of what's known as slave cloth in the mansion, and we're contrasting that with the type of sort of taffeta and silk that the royals would have been wearing. The point being, the taffeta and silk rustles when you walk. It announces that you're coming. The slave cloth doesn't make a sound, and that's very deliberate, because you're basically a non-person.
What's known about the lives of the 60 slaves here falls devastatingly short of the detailed royal family history.
Because they were considered property, they didn't have last names. So when you're looking at doing, what a lot of people do, a lot of genealogical research now, it's hard to get past what I call the wall of 1870. That's the first census where African American people were recorded as people.
The Royal House Association is hoping to find funding for more research about the people who were enslaved here.
Where we are on a number of fronts in terms of racial disparities, still in employment, still in homelessness. In almost every other category, people of African descent, and even broader than that, brown people, do not have the same opportunity yet in America as white people. And you can trace the root of that right back to enslavement.
Preserving and propagating that history, key to appreciating what has changed and what has not.
I think it's important to understand the past in order to understand where we are now.
Next, we visit the home of a man who centuries later urged African Americans to cast off the shackles of racism by any means necessary. Earlier this year, the Roxbury home where civil rights leader Malcolm X grew up was added to the National Register of Historic Places. The house on Dale Street was owned by his sister at the time, and Peter Eliopoulos reports the designation will preserve the home for years to come.
History should be no mystery to anyone.
This Roxbury house may be a mystery to many, though. It was the home to Malcolm X, the face of the Nation of Islam during the Civil Rights Movement, now added to the National Register of Historic Places.
That was significant in educating Malcolm coming out of this property. And education, as he said, was key.
Malcolm X was assassinated in 1965. Now his nephew, Rodnell Collins, owns the property. He hopes to turn it into a residence for graduate students studying black history and civil rights. When Malcolm X lived here in the early 1940s, that's when he began a life of advocacy, propelling him onto the national stage.
Well, Boston has a really important role in the history of the national civil rights movement that people don't realize.
Chair of the Massachusetts Historical Commission says this is a step toward preserving African American history, which Collins says is American history.
I don't care who you are. The Confederate statues, George Washington, that's all part of the fabric of what took place in this nation. It is significant in that it represents who we are as a history.
And thank you, Peter, for that story. The house on Dale Street was also designated a Boston landmark back in the 90s. And an interesting development, 2 men convicted for killing Malcolm X over 50 years ago were recently exonerated. It's been proven that the FBI and the NYPD withheld evidence that pointed to different suspects and could have cleared them. Coming up, a centuries-old estate that just months ago was designated a Boston landmark. We'll take a look back at the property's hidden history next.